Long before the first civilizations carved their presence into the Earth, the planet was already shaped by forces far older and far greater than we can imagine. Across eons, continents shifted, oceans rose and fell, and entire species appeared only to vanish again. Yet, hidden within the ancient layers of time lies a question that defies simple explanation. Could this world have been visited by advanced beings in an age so distant that no memory remains? The Paleocontact Hypothesis dares to propose exactly that. It suggests that extraterrestrial visitors might have influenced Earth long before the rise of modern life as we know it. With that said, let us begin. The Paleocontact Hypothesis, sometimes called the ancient astronaut theory, is not a singular claim but a vast web of interpretations. At its core lies a radical question: could advanced extraterrestrial intelligences have reached Earth in prehistoric times, shaping its environment, guiding its species, or even seeding its future? Supporters point out that the cosmos is billions of years older than our planet. In that immense gulf of time, countless civilizations could have arisen, spread across the stars, and sent explorers to distant worlds. To understand this hypothesis, we must separate speculation from foundation. The idea rests on three pillars: first, the possibility of interstellar travel; second, the geological and archaeological evidence that appears out of place or inexplicable within traditional science; and third, the mythologies and legends passed down through cultures across millennia, which some interpret as encoded memories of otherworldly contact. Mainstream science remains skeptical. The extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Yet history has shown that what once seemed impossible often becomes possible with new discoveries. Just as fossils reveal that giant reptiles once dominated the Earth, so too might future evidence reveal that contact occurred long before we ever imagined. The Paleocontact Hypothesis thrives in this space between the known and the unknown, where questions outweigh the answers. To consider extraterrestrial visitation, we must first travel back into Earth's deep past. Before the emergence of humanity, before the rise of even our earliest ancestors, the planet was already alive with astonishing forms of existence. During the Paleozoic era, vast oceans teemed with trilobites, ammonites, and the first primitive fish. Giant ferns stretched across ancient forests, and colossal dragonflies hovered over swamps that would one day turn to coal. In the Mesozoic, dinosaurs thundered across shifting continents, their reign lasting over 160 million years, an era unimaginably longer than our own recorded history. If extraterrestrials had sought to explore or colonize, they would have found Earth abundant in life and resources. Its atmosphere was rich in oxygen, its biosphere stable, and its ecosystems astonishingly diverse. To advanced visitors, such a planet would be a prime candidate for study, resource extraction, or even long-term observation. The thought is both awe-inspiring and unsettling. Alien eyes may have once gazed upon the great reptiles of the Jurassic, watching the planet evolve toward its future potential. The absence of human witnesses makes this possibility even more enigmatic. No culture exists to leave behind stories of those times, no records carved in stone. All that remains are fossils, rocks, and the occasional anomaly. Enigmatic artifacts or geological features that some claim cannot be explained by natural processes alone. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Paleocontact Hypothesis is the existence of so-called out-of-place artifacts, OOP-ARTs. These are objects that, according to mainstream dating methods, seem impossibly old or technologically advanced for their supposed era. Examples include the mysterious metallic spheres found in South Africa, which some believe to be millions of years old, or the hammer-like objects encased in rock formations that predate modern humans by geological ages. Most scientists attribute these anomalies to natural formations, misinterpretations, or even modern contamination. Yet for those who support the hypothesis, these artifacts are tantalizing glimpses of something far stranger. Could they be remnants of ancient exploration, fragments of technology left behind by visitors who walked this planet long before us? Fossil records add another layer of intrigue. Reports occasionally surface of footprints resembling those of modern shoes embedded in strata millions of years old. While mainstream science typically dismisses such finds as errors or hoaxes, their very existence fuels speculation. If authentic, they would suggest that beings with human-like traits, perhaps visitors from another world, roamed the Earth at a time when no human should have existed. The deeper we dig, both literally and metaphorically, the more we encounter puzzles that challenge conventional timelines. Whether these are the result of misunderstood geology or genuine signs of contact, they keep the Paleocontact hypothesis alive and captivating. The Earth's surface is scarred with structures that stretch back hundreds of millions of years. Mountain ranges rise like petrified waves, volcanoes breathe fire into the sky, and vast plateaus stand like monuments carved by time. Yet among these natural formations lie puzzling features that some interpret as signs of intervention. Take, for instance, the so-called Bimini Road beneath the waters of the Bahamas. While mainstream geologists identify it as a natural limestone formation, others argue that its straight, block-like patterns resemble engineered stone pathways. Even older are the puzzling polygonal basalt columns of places like Giant's Causeway in Ireland or the Devil's Postpile in California. While these are explained as volcanic phenomena, the sheer symmetry raises speculation about whether ancient visitors may have mimicked or repurposed such formations for their own use. Even deeper in time, planetary scars suggest that Earth has not always been a passive participant in cosmic events. Massive impact craters such as Vredefort in South Africa or Chicxulub in Mexico testify to cataclysmic collisions. If intelligent observers were monitoring Earth during these impacts, they would have witnessed extinction-level events that cleared the path for new life to flourish. Were these events simply natural accidents, or could advanced civilizations have had a hand in shaping life's trajectory by allowing, or even orchestrating, such outcomes? While the geological record cannot speak for itself, its silent testimony inspires both awe and speculation. The Paleocontact hypothesis invites us to see Earth's most ancient scars not only as natural wonders, but also as potential canvases where the hands of unseen architects might once have played. Long before written history, stories were carried by oral traditions. Myths, legends, and sacred texts from cultures around the globe share uncanny similarities, beings descending from the skies, gods bestowing knowledge, and strange visitors teaching agriculture, astronomy, or architecture. The Sumerians of Mesopotamia spoke of the Anunnaki, divine figures who came from the heavens to shape human destiny. In Mesoamerican traditions, the feathered serpent deity Quetzalcoatl was said to arrive from the sky, bringing wisdom and order. Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories describe sky beings who created landscapes and guided early life. Even in isolated regions, such as the Pacific Islands, legends of gods descending from the stars persist. Skeptics argue that these stories are symbolic metaphors or cultural attempts to explain natural forces. Yet the Paleocontact hypothesis suggests another possibility, that myths may preserve distorted memories of actual encounters with extraterrestrial beings. If visitors came in ages past, their appearance and technology would have seemed godlike to early witnesses. Over time, these encounters could have transformed into mythology, woven into the fabric of cultural identity. It is here that the hypothesis gains emotional weight. Myth is not merely story, it is memory encoded in metaphor. When countless cultures across time and geography share visions of sky beings, one must at least entertain the question, could they all be echoing fragments of the same prehistoric truth? The emergence of life on Earth remains one of science's greatest mysteries. Abiogenesis, the natural process by which life arises from non-living matter, has been the subject of decades of research, yet the exact pathway remains elusive. The Paleocontact hypothesis offers a bold alternative: perhaps life did not emerge here entirely on its own. This concept, known as panspermia, suggests that life may have been seeded on Earth by external sources. Meteorites rich in amino acids, comets carrying organic compounds, and interstellar dust all contain the building blocks of biology. But could intelligent visitors have accelerated or directed this process? If extraterrestrials possessed advanced biotechnology, they may have planted microbial life intentionally, guiding Earth's ecosystems toward complexity. Some researchers point to sudden bursts of evolutionary progress, so-called punctuated equilibrium, as possible hints of intervention. The Cambrian explosion, in which countless new life forms appeared over a relatively short geological window, remains difficult to fully explain. Was this the result of natural environmental triggers alone, or could it have been influenced by an external force? The notion is provocative. Earth may not merely be a cradle of life, but a carefully tended experiment, observed and adjusted by beings far beyond our comprehension. Whether natural or guided, the rise of life set the stage for the emergence of intelligence, and, eventually, for us to ponder whether we were ever truly alone. Across the world stand monuments so ancient and mysterious that they continue to baffle researchers. The pyramids of Egypt rise from the desert like timeless sentinels, their precise alignments and colossal stone blocks raising questions about how early civilizations achieved such feats. In South America, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman showcases stones cut with such precision that not even a blade of grass can fit between them. The megalithic site of Baalbek in Lebanon contains stone blocks weighing hundreds of tons, far larger than those used in the Great Pyramid. Mainstream archaeology attributes these accomplishments to ingenuity, organization, and sheer human labor. Yet some argue that such precision and scale hint at influences beyond what ancient cultures should have been capable of with the tools of their era. Did early builders receive knowledge from visitors who had mastered techniques far ahead of their time? Legends themselves often support this idea. The Inca claimed that their structures were not built by them alone but by gods who possessed the power to move stones with sound. In Egypt, texts speak of Thoth, a deity linked to advanced wisdom. If interpreted literally, such accounts could reflect encounters with beings possessing technology indistinguishable from magic. To believers in the Paleocontact Hypothesis, these monuments are not merely relics of human achievement, they are signatures carved in stone, enduring markers left behind from interactions between Earth and entities beyond the stars. The night sky has always inspired wonder, but ancient peoples demonstrated knowledge that appears startlingly advanced. The Sumerians charted planetary movements with precision. The Mayans developed calendars more accurate than those used in Europe for centuries. The Dogon tribe of Mali, according to some interpretations, possessed knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, long before modern telescopes confirmed its existence. Critics argue that these claims are exaggerated, misinterpreted, or simply the result of coincidence. Still, the recurrence of astronomical sophistication across unrelated civilizations raises questions. Why did so many ancient societies devote immense energy to mapping the stars? Was this purely agricultural necessity, or was it guidance from beings who came from the heavens themselves? Structures like Stonehenge in England, Chichén Itzá in Mexico, and Nabta Playa in Egypt show alignments with solstices, equinoxes, and stellar events. Some of these alignments would have required generations of careful observation. Others seem so precise that they appear more like blueprints than trial-and-error experimentation. Could these sites have served as celestial observatories designed in cooperation with visitors who understood the cosmos far better than their human counterparts? The sky may have been both a source of inspiration and a reminder. For those who looked upward, perhaps it was not merely a void of stars, but the memory of a place where their teachers had come from, and where they might someday return. Beyond monuments and myths, some proponents of paleocontact look inward, to the very code of life itself. Human DNA contains billions of base pairs, an intricate sequence that directs the construction of every cell in our bodies. Most of it functions as expected, but vast stretches of what scientists once called junk DNA remain enigmatic. Could these sequences hold signs of intentional design? The hypothesis of directed panspermia suggests that extraterrestrials may have not only seeded life but also subtly programmed its evolution. In this view, DNA could carry markers or embedded codes, messages left by an ancient civilization to be discovered once a species reached sufficient intelligence. While this idea borders on science fiction, some geneticists admit the complexity of the genome is staggering, and its origin is still not fully understood. Mitochondrial DNA studies reveal that humans share common ancestry traced back to a relatively recent point in evolutionary history. Some argue that sudden genetic shifts, such as the rapid expansion of the human brain, might have been influenced by outside intervention. Could an advanced species have guided our development, nudging a primate toward intelligence capable of asking these very questions? Mainstream science emphasizes natural selection, mutation, and adaptation. Yet for paleocontact theorists, our very existence may be evidence not of chance alone but of deliberate shaping. If true, then every cell in our bodies could carry the silent signature of alien architects. Throughout history, whispers of vanished civilizations have persisted. Plato wrote of Atlantis, a powerful kingdom said to have sunk beneath the sea in a single day and night. Hindu texts speak of Dwarka, a city swallowed by the ocean. Legends of Lemuria and Mu describe vast lands lost to cataclysm, their people and knowledge erased from the record. Mainstream archaeology views these as myths or symbolic tales of natural disasters. Yet the Paleocontact hypothesis invites us to reconsider, could these stories preserve echoes of real civilizations that once thrived under the influence of extraterrestrial contact? If advanced visitors once guided early humans, or even pre-human species, then their sudden disappearance could have caused entire cultures to collapse, leaving only memory wrapped in allegory. Excavations along the coast of India have revealed submerged structures that suggest urban planning thousands of years older than expected. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument lies beneath the waves, a massive stone formation resembling staircases, terraces, and platforms. Debate continues over whether it is natural or artificial, but to some it stands as evidence of a civilization long forgotten. The stories of these lost worlds may not be mere fantasy. Instead, they may be fragmented memories of times when humanity, or those who came before us, walked beside visitors who carried knowledge from the stars. Nearly every culture holds a memory of a great flood. From the biblical story of Noah's Ark to the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh, from Native American traditions to tales of Deucalion in Greek myth, the pattern repeats, a deluge that wipes out most of life, leaving only a remnant to rebuild. Geologists confirm that at the end of the last ice age, sea levels rose dramatically as glacier melted. Catastrophic floods swept across continents, reshaping coastlines and drowning lowlands. Yet the consistency of these flood myths across disconnected cultures raises another possibility: were these disasters not merely natural, but witnessed, or even foretold, by beings who understood the forces at play? Some versions of the story describe gods or sky beings who warned chosen individuals of the coming catastrophe. Others describe advanced ships or vessels capable of surviving the chaos. Could these narratives reflect encounters with extraterrestrials who either caused the event or offered guidance for survival? The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, which suggests a comet or asteroid struck Earth around 12,000 years ago, aligns eerily with many of these legends. To ancient witnesses, such destruction would indeed have seemed divine or alien in nature. If extraterrestrials observed, or intervened, in this event, then the flood myths may be more than metaphor. They may be records of cosmic forces shaping human destiny. Cultural artifacts provide another layer of intrigue. Cave paintings, petroglyphs, and carvings from thousands of years ago sometimes depict figures that resemble astronauts, flying discs, or otherworldly beings. In the Val Camonica region of Italy, carvings show humanoid figures with helmets and rays of light. In the Sahara's Tassili Enadja caves, paintings appear to show beings with bulbous heads and large eyes. Mainstream archaeology interprets these as symbolic, shamanic visions, or depictions of ritual masks. Yet for those who entertain the Paleocontact hypothesis, these images are literal records, ancient eyewitness accounts of visitors descending from the skies. The famous one-genus figures of Australia, with their large eyes and strange, helmet-like heads, fit eerily with modern descriptions of extraterrestrials. Even in more recent centuries, religious art sometimes portrays unusual aerial objects. Renaissance paintings include circular, glowing shapes in the sky, often positioned in ways that seem deliberate. Were these symbols of divinity or memories of unidentified flying objects witnessed by earlier generations? The presence of such imagery across time and geography suggests a continuity of experience. If visitors came long before written history, then art may be the most enduring testimony left behind, cryptic, stylized, but still resonant with the possibility that humanity has always been under observation from beyond the stars. Many of the world's oldest sacred writings contain passages that seem strikingly extraterrestrial when read with modern eyes. The Hebrew Bible speaks of fiery chariots, pillars of smoke and fire, and beings descending from the heavens. The book of Ezekiel describes a vision of a flying craft with wheels within wheels, flashing with fire and lightning. To ancient readers, this was the language of divine revelation. To paleocontact theorists, it is a remarkably technical description of a machine. The Vedas of India are perhaps even more explicit. These ancient Sanskrit texts describe Vimanas, flying vehicles used by gods and heroes. Some accounts detail aerial battles, weapons that resemble modern missiles, and cities in the sky. The Mahabharata, a great Indian epic, includes descriptions of destruction so immense that they echo the devastation of nuclear explosions. Were these symbolic allegories or literal recollections of technology far ahead of its time? The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text excluded from the standard biblical canon, speaks of the Watchers, beings who descended to earth, imparted forbidden knowledge, and interacted with human women. While traditional interpretations see these as angels, the paleocontact perspective views them as extraterrestrial visitors. Their arrival, teachings, and eventual punishment form a narrative that aligns closely with stories of contact, influence, and departure. Taken together, these sacred texts reveal a consistent pattern: beings from the sky arrive, wield advanced power, and alter the course of human or pre-human existence. Whether gods, angels, or visitors, their presence lingers in the very foundations of our spiritual traditions. Flight has always been one of humanity's greatest ambitions, yet stories of aerial travel predate modern aviation by thousands of years. Beyond the Indian Vimanas, other cultures preserve tales of flying ships and airborne chariots. Greek mythology speaks of Helios driving the sun across the sky in a fiery chariot. The Mayans depicted gods descending from the heavens in feathered serpents, which some interpret as stylized craft. Archaeological finds add to the mystery. In Egypt, small gold artifacts known as the Saqqara birds resemble miniature gliders. In Colombia, pre-Columbian figures crafted from gold bear a striking resemblance to modern jet aircraft, complete with wings, tails, and vertical stabilizers. Were these purely symbolic, or models based on observations of real technology? Even more enigmatic are the Nazca lines of Peru. From the ground, these enormous geoglyphs, depicting animals, geometric patterns, and straight runways, are nearly invisible. But from the sky, their full design becomes clear. Why would a culture without flight create art meant to be viewed from above? Could they have been intended as signals or landing markers for visitors from the air? Mainstream archaeology stresses that these are cultural symbols, ritual pathways, or artistic expressions. But the Paleocontact hypothesis suggests another possibility: that ancient peoples were imitating, recording, or even interacting with aerial technology brought by those who came from beyond the stars. Perhaps the most compelling support for the Paleocontact hypothesis is the sheer ubiquity of sky gods across ancient cultures. The Sumerians described the Anunnaki, beings from the heavens who taught humanity agriculture, architecture, and governance. The Egyptians revered Ra, the sun god who traveled across the sky in a celestial bark. The Norse spoke of Odin, descending to impart wisdom and knowledge. The similarity lies not only in their celestial origins but also in their roles: teachers, rulers, and guardians who bestowed knowledge far beyond what early cultures should have known. This pattern repeats across continents and eras, suggesting a shared memory of encounters that transcend geography. The Dogon of Mali, as mentioned earlier, are said to have received knowledge of Sirius B from sky beings known as the Nomo. In the Andes, Viracocha was described as a bearded figure who emerged after a great flood, teaching civilization to the survivors. In Polynesian mythology, Tangaroa, god of the sea and sky, descended to guide his people. Skeptics view these parallels as the result of universal human psychology, the tendency to place gods in the heavens, where thunder, lightning, and the stars inspire awe. Yet for paleocontact theorists, the consistency is too strong to dismiss. Could it be that all these cultures were remembering the same type of visitors, described through the lens of their own languages and traditions? If so, the gods of the ancient world may not have been products of imagination, but historical witnesses to encounters with beings whose origin was far from Earth. In the world's earliest epics, descriptions of weapons appear that sound disturbingly advanced. The Mahabharata speaks of a brilliant projectile that produced fire like the sun, scorching the earth, causing hair and nails to fall out, a detail hauntingly reminiscent of radiation sickness. Other Vedic texts mention the Brahastra, a divine weapon so powerful it could obliterate entire cities, leaving the land barren for generations. In the Near East, Sumerian and Akkadian myths describe the tablets of destiny, objects said to grant authority over heaven and earth. Were these metaphors for divine rule, or technological devices that controlled information and power? The Ark of the Covenant, central to biblical tradition, is depicted as a sacred chest capable of striking enemies with fire, plagues, and even death upon touch. Its description, complete with conductive gold overlays and electrical prohibitions, has led some to speculate that it was more than a symbolic container. Skeptics see these stories as mythological embellishments, the attempt of ancient minds to personify natural forces or moral lessons. Yet for paleocontact theorists, the parallels with modern technology are striking. When cultures separated by thousands of miles describe weapons of immense destruction, skyborne vehicles, and artifacts of great power, the possibility arises that they were not inventing fantasy but attempting to record encounters with technologies they could not fully understand. If true, then humanity's earliest myths may be eyewitness accounts of technology indistinguishable from magic, tools wielded not by gods, but by visitors from the stars. To understand how ancient people might have perceived extraterrestrial visitors, we can look to a more recent phenomenon, the cargo cults of the Pacific Islands. During World War II, isolated islanders witnessed planes landing, soldiers emerging with unfamiliar technology, and supplies arriving from the sky. Lacking the context to understand airplanes, radios, or industrial logistics, the islanders interpreted these events through their own belief systems. They saw the newcomers as divine beings and later built mock runways, bamboo airplanes, and ritual practices to call back the gods who had once blessed them with cargo. This provides a powerful analogy for paleocontact. If extraterrestrials had landed on Earth thousands of years ago, their appearance and technology would have seemed miraculous. Ancient peoples would have described them using the only language available, gods descending from the heavens, riding fiery chariots, wielding thunder and light. Over generations, these stories would transform into myth, ritual, and religion. The cargo cult analogy shows how quickly a culture can mythologize advanced visitors. What takes mere decades in modern times could, over millennia, evolve into the divine pantheons and mythic tales that dominate our earliest records. The Paleocontact Hypothesis therefore asks us to re-read mythology not as invention, but as distorted memory. If extraterrestrials did visit Earth in the deep past, one question looms above all others: why did they leave? The answer remains speculative, but several possibilities emerge. One theory suggests their mission was observational. Earth, teeming with biodiversity, may have served as a living laboratory. Once their goals were complete, whether studying evolution, guiding development, or seeding life, they departed, leaving behind only traces. Another possibility is resource extraction. Perhaps they mined minerals, harvested biological material, or collected energy. Once the resources were exhausted, they had no reason to remain. There is also the possibility of catastrophe. If their presence coincided with global floods, asteroid impacts, or other cataclysms, they may have perished alongside early civilizations. Alternatively, they may have been bound by strict non-interference codes, withdrawing once their influence had crossed a certain threshold. In the most speculative interpretations, their departure was deliberate concealment. Perhaps their experiment required leaving humanity, or proto-humanity, alone to develop independently. If so, the myths of gods promising to return one day may be more than poetic closure, they could be echoes of genuine farewells. Whatever the cause, their sudden disappearance left cultures reeling. Without their teachers, early societies may have struggled to preserve fragments of lost knowledge, explaining the sudden rise and fall of mysterious civilizations. The Paleocontact hypothesis suggests we live in the shadow of that absence, inheritors of a story that began not entirely on Earth. Monuments are not merely structures of stone, they are messages across time. From the pyramids of Giza to the colossal statues of Easter Island, ancient builders left behind works that transcend practical purpose. The question is, what were they trying to say? Some researchers propose that these monuments encode mathematical and astronomical knowledge far beyond what their creators should have possessed. The Great Pyramid, for example, is said to embody proportions linked to the circumference of the Earth, the distance to the Sun, and even the value of pi. Whether intentional or coincidental, such alignments raise questions. Did ancient architects receive advanced guidance, embedding knowledge that would not be fully understood until thousands of years later? At Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, a site dating back over 11,000 years, intricately carved pillars depict animals, celestial symbols, and abstract shapes. Some argue that these carvings represent constellations, recording a catastrophic comet strike that coincides with the Younger Dryas period. If true, then this would be one of the earliest records of astronomy, and perhaps a warning preserved for future generations. The sheer effort required to construct such sites implies a purpose greater than ritual alone. They may have served as libraries in stone, built to withstand time and disaster. If extraterrestrials played a role, they could have encoded knowledge intentionally, ensuring that even if civilizations fell, the message would remain. To read these monuments is to peer into a conversation that spans millennia, perhaps even stretching beyond our world. Across continents, ancient sites exhibit alignments with the heavens that defy coincidence. The pyramids of Giza are oriented to the cardinal points with uncanny precision and mirror the belt stars of Orion. The city of Teotihuacan in Mexico, with its pyramids of the sun and moon, aligns with celestial cycles. The ancient site of Nabta Playa in Egypt includes stone circles marking solstices long before Stonehenge. Even more intriguing are ancient star maps. The ceiling of the Dendra temple in Egypt portrays the zodiac with remarkable accuracy. The Dogon of Mali, as previously noted, held knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, raising questions about how they acquired such detail. In the Americas, the Hopi and other native tribes aligned villages and ceremonial sites to constellations, creating a terrestrial reflection of the heavens. For mainstream scholars, these alignments demonstrate agricultural necessity and the importance of celestial cycles in ritual. For paleocontact theorists, they are something more, deliberate markers pointing skyward, reminders of where their teachers originated. If beings came from Orion, Sirius, or the Pleiades, then these alignments may be more than symbolic, they may be geographic signposts pointing to the stars of origin. Why would so many cultures independently orient their sacred architecture toward the heavens? Perhaps because they remembered where their gods had descended from, and in stone they left both reverence and a map for future generations to follow. At the heart of the Paleocontact hypothesis lies a profound question: are we ourselves the legacy of extraterrestrial visitors? If they seeded life, guided evolution, or even modified genetics, then humanity may be more than the product of Earth alone. Some theorists suggest that our rapid cognitive leap, our sudden capacity for language, art, and symbolic thought, was not purely evolutionary but enhanced by intervention. The so-called Great Leap Forward around 50,000 years ago saw humans creating tools, cave art, and symbolic rituals in ways that seem to appear almost overnight. Could this have been the result of genetic adjustments, a deliberate push from primitive intelligence to advanced consciousness? Legends support this possibility. Stories of gods shaping humanity from clay, of divine breath animating lifeless forms, or of beings descending to bestow wisdom may reflect a literal truth that extraterrestrials played a hand in making us what we are. Even modern science recognizes that much of our DNA remains mysterious in function. Could hidden within it be a signature, an artifact of design, waiting to be discovered? If true, then the Paleocontact Hypothesis is not just about whether aliens visited Earth. It is about identity. We may be the children of two worlds, shaped by Earth's environment, yet carrying the legacy of ancient visitors. To explore this possibility is to confront the deepest question of all: what does it truly mean to be human? If extraterrestrials truly visited Earth in the distant past, the next question arises naturally. Did they leave permanently, or do they still observe us from afar? The notion of watchers recurs across ancient traditions: the watchers of the Book of Enoch, the ever-present gods of Mesopotamia, that sky people of Native American lore. These beings are described not as occasional visitors but as overseers, keeping track of the progress of life below. In modern times, stories of strange aerial phenomena continue. While some are dismissed as atmospheric illusions or human technology, the sheer number of accounts across decades suggests a persistent presence. Could these be the same visitors who once influenced our ancestors, now maintaining a hidden watch over their legacy? Satellites orbit the Earth today, monitoring its every corner. To a civilization thousands or millions of years more advanced, monitoring our planet from hidden vantage points, perhaps on the Moon, in orbit, or even within our oceans, would be trivial. Some researchers suggest that unidentified submersible objects, USOs, seen in the depths of the sea, could be evidence of advanced craft hidden in places where human technology cannot easily reach. If visitors remain, they may no longer need to intervene directly. Their role could now be purely observational, waiting to see whether their experiment matures or collapses. Perhaps the myths of gods promising to return one day were never prophecy, but a literal assurance they never left at all. Since the mid-20th century, reports of unidentified flying objects have surged, particularly after the infamous Roswell incident of 1947. Disc-shaped craft, triangular ships, glowing orbs, these modern sightings echo ancient descriptions of fiery chariots, shields in the sky, and ships of the gods. The parallels are striking. What was once described in spiritual language is now recorded in technological terms. From the Rendlesham Forest incident in the UK to the Phoenix Lights in the United States, witnesses consistently report structured craft that defy conventional explanations. Governments worldwide have quietly studied these encounters, releasing declassified files that confirm unidentified aerial phenomena are real, even if their origin remains unexplained. Art also provides continuity. Medieval paintings, such as the Madonna with St. Giovannino, depict mysterious glowing objects in the sky. Ancient rock art in places like Australia and South America bears images that match modern depictions of UFOs. Could these be the same craft, appearing across millennia, seen through the eyes of cultures separated by vast gulfs of time? The Paleocontact Hypothesis views UFOs not as a new phenomenon but as an ancient one. The beings who once interacted openly may now choose subtlety, showing themselves only briefly. What we call UFO sightings may not be random at all. They could be deliberate, intermittent reminders that the watchers of old still circle our skies. Despite mounting evidence and centuries of stories, mainstream science and culture often resist the Paleocontact Hypothesis. Why? The reasons are as psychological as they are institutional. Admitting that extraterrestrials may have visited Earth in the past would rewrite the narrative of human history. It would challenge religious doctrines, shake cultural identities, and diminish the sense of human uniqueness. The idea that we may not be the sole architects of our civilization confronts deeply ingrained beliefs about human superiority and destiny. Academia, bound by cautious methodology, demands extraordinary evidence. Out-of-place artifacts, mythological parallels, and anomalous structures are dismissed unless they can withstand rigorous scrutiny. Skeptics warn that embracing paleocontact risks undermining serious research with speculation. Yet this conservatism also ensures that radical new ideas, even if valid, are slow to gain traction. There is also fear of what confirmation would mean. If we are the descendants of alien intervention, what does that make us? A failed experiment? A monitored species? Or participants in a cosmic project far beyond our comprehension? Such implications stir unease, for they threaten to strip away the comforting illusion of control. And yet, resistance itself may be evidence of the hypothesis's power. Ideas that endure, despite skepticism, often do so because they touch on something fundamental, a truth buried in myth, waiting for the courage of discovery. Any speculation about paleocontact must grapple with motive. Why would an advanced intelligence expend resources to travel across the void and touch a world billions of years into its own lifespan? Theories divide into practical, scientific, ideological, and inscrutable motives, each offering a different portrait of why visitors might come and what they hope to achieve. A pragmatic motive is resource acquisition. Planets are repositories of minerals, isotopes, and organic diversity, goods that an advanced civilization might harvest through probes or brief landings. If so, early visits could have been industrial in nature, focused on surveying and extracting rather than establishing long-term colonies. From this view, Earth's ancient abundance would attract transient teams who left only fragments of infrastructure or technology behind. Curiosity and research provide another plausible motive. Earth represents a living laboratory. Emergent life, dramatic climate swings, and complex ecosystems offer a rare opportunity to observe evolutionary dynamics firsthand. Like terrestrial scientists studying remote habitats, extraterrestrial researchers might have catalogued species, recorded geological events, and performed controlled experiments, interventions designed to test hypotheses about the origins and trajectories of life. If this were the case, many traces would be observational rather than colonial: sensors, field labs, and occasional direct contact. A third motive may be propagation or stewardship. If life is rare and precious, some civilizations might practice directed panspermia or deliberate seeding to propagate life across suitable worlds. They may also act as stewards, nudging ecosystems toward complexity or rescuing fledgling biospheres from collapse. In mythic terms, such actors would be benefactors; in practical terms, they would be planetary engineers. Finally, ideological or inscrutable motives cannot be discounted. Advanced intelligences may operate under ethical frameworks so alien that they defy human comprehension: non-interference protocols, socio-cultural experiments, or long-term ecological projects spanning millennia. The only certainty is that motive reframes artifact and myth. Whether harvesters, scholars, or guardians, the visitor's intent colors how we interpret every anomalous trace left in Earth's deep record. One of the most challenging ideas in paleocontact discourse is that Earth itself might be an experiment, or, in modern parlance, a simulation. Under this view, extraterrestrial visitation represents not casual tourism but purposeful manipulation, tests, controlled variables, and staged interventions conducted by entities outside our causal frame. The thought is unsettling because it reframes every origin story as data. If Earth were an experiment, the timeline of life, its sudden bursts of complexity, periodic extinctions, and the rise of intelligence could be the product of intentional parameters. Visitors might seed life, then manipulate environmental variables to observe outcomes over hundreds of millions of years. Catastrophes might be stress tests, cultural transmissions might be measured to see how knowledge propagates across generations. In such a model, myths and artifacts are not accidents but experimental notes, markers intended either for monitoring or for future interpretation. The simulation variant reframes the issue further. Rather than biological tinkering, we might exist within a designed informational substrate. Inhabitants of such a substrate could insert agents, correct trajectories, or reboot segments of the program. Sacred texts, star maps, and megaliths could then be debugged logs or embedded heuristics left by designers. This hypothesis is scientifically unfalsifiable in many respects, but it offers a coherent explanation for sudden genetic leaps, coordinated mythic motifs, and inexplicable artifacts. Both models provoke ethical questions. If we are the result of deliberate design, what responsibilities do designers hold toward their subjects? Would detection of such design change our moral frameworks? Though speculative, the experiment simulation hypothesis provides a lens through which disparate anomalies, archaeological, genetic, and mythic, converge into a single, unsettling narrative that our planet's history may have been curated by minds from beyond our observational reach. Across millennia, knowledge has never been uniformly distributed. Sacred rites, artisan guilds, and priestly castes have long controlled esoteric skills, architecture, metallurgy, astronomy, transmitting them through ritual and initiation. If paleocontact occurred, these social mechanisms would be the most efficient way to preserve fragments of contact without broadcasting them to the broader populace. Ancient priesthoods often functioned as repositories. They encoded astronomical cycles into calendars, guarded construction techniques for monuments, and preserved oral histories in mythic forms. In many cultures, the keepers of knowledge were also custodians of social order. If contact brought advanced techniques or cosmic law, it is plausible that such information would be filtered to elites, couched in sacred language to protect and regulate it. Over generations, practical knowledge could become ritualized, and technical instruction could be coded into ceremonial practice. This dynamic helps explain striking continuities, secret symbols, initiatory rites, and the recurrence of particular myths among disparate groups. Secret societies, whether localized priesthoods or trans-regional orders, could have acted as living archives, preserving knowledge through collapse, migration, and conquest. In some traditions, these custodians explicitly claim ancient origin, asserting that their rites descend from gods or sky teachers. In others, their cryptic symbols may be the only surviving keys to lost technologies. Modern conspiracy narratives often invoke hidden cabals and shadow archives as evidence of suppressed truth. While such claims demand skepticism, the social reality remains: secrecy is a powerful organizer of knowledge. If ancient visitors ceded critical information, it is likely that their legacy survived not in open texts but in guarded rituals, encoded monuments, and the careful memory-keeping of those chosen to receive it. Modern science thrives on evidence, yet many mysteries of deep history remain unresolved. Geology, archaeology, and genetics each provide potential avenues for testing the paleocontact hypothesis, though mainstream researchers approach the idea with caution. Still, new technologies are beginning to allow questions once thought impossible to probe. In archaeology, high-resolution satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar are revealing hidden structures beneath jungles, deserts, and oceans. Lost cities are being rediscovered in the Amazon and Cambodia, some dating back further than conventional timelines expected. As our tools sharpen, anomalies long dismissed as myth may become verifiable evidence. Genetics offers another path. Comparative studies of human DNA with that of ancient hominins, Neanderthals, Denisovans, and others reveal interbreeding events and sudden changes in cognition. Could subtle manipulations by an outside intelligence be detectable as unexplained insertions or modifications? If paleocontact included genetic influence, our genome itself may hold the most enduring evidence of alien interaction. Even physics provides a frontier. Advances in astrophysics suggest that interstellar travel, once dismissed as fantasy, may be possible through concepts like warp bubbles or wormholes. If civilizations millions of years older than ours mastered such techniques, then paleocontact shifts from implausible to probable. Science at the edge does not yet confirm visitation, but it increasingly dismantles the barriers that once made the idea unthinkable. Beyond science, the question of paleocontact touches power. If evidence exists, artifacts, records, or even knowledge of current extraterrestrial presence, who controls it? And why might it be concealed? Governments throughout history have withheld information for reasons of security, stability, and advantage. If indisputable proof of paleocontact surfaced, it would reshape religion, science, and geopolitics overnight. Institutions built on human exceptionalism could falter, and populations might demand access to knowledge long hidden. For ruling powers, such disruption could be destabilizing. The modern UFO phenomenon illustrates this tension. For decades, governments denied or downplayed sightings. Only recently have official agencies acknowledged unidentified aerial phenomena, releasing footage that confirms objects of unknown origin. While these releases do not prove extraterrestrial visitation, they hint at a gradual process of disclosure, revealing just enough to prepare the public without igniting shock. If paleocontact artifacts were ever discovered, perhaps beneath ancient ruins, in geological strata, or in hidden vaults, they could be classified at the highest levels, accessible only to select officials. The motives for secrecy could range from fear of societal upheaval to desire for technological monopoly. In this sense, the Paleocontact hypothesis is not only a question of history, but also one of power, secrecy, and the control of truth. The challenge of paleocontact lies not only in speculation but in the demand for evidence. What would it take to move the idea from fringe to fact? Archaeological confirmation could come in the form of unambiguous technology embedded in ancient strata, artifacts that cannot be explained as natural or as the product of known human culture. A machine fossilized in rock millions of years old, or a structure with precision beyond any ancient toolset, would demand re-evaluation. Genetic confirmation could emerge if patterns in DNA appear artificial, coded sequences resembling information storage, non-random insertions inconsistent with evolutionary processes, or signatures suggesting deliberate engineering. The discovery of such anomalies could suggest that life on Earth bears the stamp of external design. Astronomical confirmation might arise through the detection of probes or monitoring devices within our solar system, small, ancient machines designed to observe Earth discreetly. Some scientists propose searching the Moon, asteroids, or Lagrange points for such relics. If discovered, they would provide undeniable proof that our planet has been visited before. Ultimately, paleocontact remains unproven, but not untestable. Each new tool, each advance in archaeology, genetics, or astronomy, brings us closer to a verdict. The hypothesis endures because it is not only provocative but falsifiable. One discovery, one artifact, could change everything. Until then, the possibility lingers at the edge of science and myth, waiting for proof to emerge. If the paleocontact hypothesis holds truth, then religion itself may represent humanity's oldest response to contact. What we call gods, angels, or demons may have been interpretations of advanced beings. Figures whose power was so overwhelming that it demanded reverence. Sacred texts, rituals, and doctrines may have grown from the attempt to preserve, explain, and codify these encounters. The implications are profound. The narratives of creation, divine punishment, and heavenly ascent might reflect actual interventions by visitors. Flood myths could be cultural memories of cosmic events. Prophets who claim to ascend to the skies could be describing literal journeys aboard advanced craft. Even divine laws might be remembered as instructions from beings seeking to stabilize societies left in their care. Yet this reinterpretation does not diminish religion, it deepens it. To recast gods as visitors is not to rob traditions of their spiritual meaning, but to see them as layered texts, containing both cosmic metaphor and historical memory. Faith, after all, arises from encounters with the unknown. Whether the heavens are described in Scripture meant the spiritual realm or the stars above, the awe they inspired remains the same. If extraterrestrial contact lies at the root of religion, then humanity's search for the divine has always been entangled with its search for origins. In this light, the sacred may be both human and cosmic, a bridge between earthly lives and celestial teachers whose legacy shaped our earliest steps toward civilization. Imagine the moment when incontrovertible proof emerges, an artifact unearthed that is undeniably technological yet millions of years old, or a genetic signature revealing deliberate design. Such a revelation would not only rewrite history but transform psychology itself. For some, the confirmation would bring a sense of connection to a vast, cosmic community. The idea that we are not alone, and that our story is interwoven with that of ancient visitors, could inspire new unity, curiosity, and purpose. Myths would no longer be dismissed as fantasy but reinterpreted as testimony, giving humanity a deeper continuity with its past. For others, the shock would be destabilizing. If our religions, histories, and even our biology were influenced by extraterrestrials, questions of identity would fracture. Are we independent beings, or engineered creations? Are our cultures our own, or echoes of alien design? Such doubts could fuel existential anxiety, eroding trust in institutions and traditions long thought eternal. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the strain of holding conflicting truths. Yet the human mind has endured shocks before: the realization that Earth is not the center of the cosmos, that continents drift, that species evolve. Each revelation reshaped our worldview, but ultimately expanded it. Paleocontact, if confirmed, would be the greatest revelation yet, an earthquake in identity, followed by the possibility of a new equilibrium on cosmic ground. The final irony of the Paleocontact hypothesis is that humanity may be on the verge of becoming what it claims once visited us. As our technology advances, we stand at the threshold of interstellar exploration. Robotic probes already travel beyond our solar system. Plans for colonization of Mars and exploration of exoplanets grow more tangible each year. Within centuries, if not sooner, humanity may step onto worlds that host life, whether primitive or advanced. How will we appear to those beings? To a species at an early stage of development, our arrival in shining craft, wielding technologies beyond their comprehension, would seem godlike. If we taught them agriculture, language, or astronomy, their descendants might encode the memory in myths and monuments. Over millennia, they could come to see us as divine ancestors, their cultures shaped by distorted echoes of our presence. In this sense, Paleocontact is not only a question of our past but a mirror of our future. If we have been visited, then we are part of a cycle, civilizations rising, exploring, influencing, and leaving traces behind. Someday, another species may ask of us what we now ask of those before us: why did they come, what did they leave, and where have they gone? To embrace this possibility is to see ourselves not only as Earth's children but as participants in an eternal story of cosmic contact, where the roles of teacher and student shift endlessly across the stars. When we look across the vast span of human history, a pattern emerges, scattered but persistent. Mythologies tell of gods descending from the skies, offering wisdom and technology. Archaeological sites reveal alignments with stars and construction feats that stretch the limits of known tools. Out-of-place artifacts challenge chronological order. Genetic mysteries hint at sudden leaps, while modern UFO encounters mirror descriptions carved into stone thousands of years ago. No single piece of evidence can stand alone as proof. Each anomaly may be dismissed, each story explained away. But when viewed together, the mosaic forms an image too compelling to ignore. It is the convergence of myth, material, and mystery that sustains the Paleocontact hypothesis. Skeptics emphasize coincidence and error, yet believers see coherence where fragments align. Even science acknowledges that contact with extraterrestrials is not only possible but statistically likely given the scale of the cosmos. If civilizations have risen and fallen for billions of years, then Earth's long history may have intersected with theirs. To assume otherwise is not skepticism, but a kind of arrogance, believing that our world has been overlooked in a universe teeming with opportunity. The threads of evidence may be frayed, but together they weave a tapestry that suggests Earth's story is not entirely Earth's alone. If Paleocontact is true, the implications ripple outward, touching every aspect of human identity. History would need to be rewritten, not as an isolated march of human progress, but as a chapter in a wider galactic narrative. Religion would find new foundations, recasting gods as cosmic teachers while preserving the awe they inspired. Science would face both challenge and expansion, tasked with explaining interventions that lie outside current models. Philosophically, we would be forced to redefine humanity. Are we children of the stars, shaped by visitors who guided our development? Or are we simply one link in a vast chain of influence, destined to repeat the cycle with others? Such a realization could inspire humility, reminding us that intelligence is not unique to Earth. Or it could inspire ambition, pushing us to join the cosmic dialogue consciously rather than as passive subjects. The Paleocontact Hypothesis transforms Earth from a solitary stage into part of an interstellar theater. Our myths become memories, our monuments become messages, and our existence becomes evidence of a larger design. Whether we welcome or resist this vision, it offers a perspective both unsettling and exhilarating, that we are part of something much greater than ourselves. All inquiries eventually lead to the same precipice, the question of truth. Did ancient aliens visit Earth long before humanity existed, shaping the trajectory of life and civilization? Or are the anomalies we find simply artifacts of nature, coincidence, and imagination? The answer may remain hidden until a discovery forces the world to acknowledge it, an artifact unearthed, a signal decoded, or an encounter too undeniable to dismiss. Until then, the Paleocontact Hypothesis occupies a liminal space between science and myth, skepticism and belief. It challenges us to keep questioning, to treat our past not as closed history but as a mystery still unfolding. Perhaps the greatest value of the hypothesis is not whether it is proven true, but the perspective it invites. It asks us to see ourselves within cosmic time, to imagine civilizations older than stars, and to consider that our origins may be entangled with theirs. In doing so, it expands the horizon of inquiry far beyond the walls of Earth. And so, as the evidence accumulates and the questions deepen, we stand at the threshold of understanding. Whether the visitors of myth were gods, teachers, or explorers, their legacy lingers, in stone, in story, and perhaps even in our very DNA. Even without final proof, the Paleocontact Hypothesis offers lessons worth considering. At its heart lies the recognition that humanity is not the measure of all things, but a participant in a story much larger than itself. Whether the visitors were real or imagined, the myths reflect a deep instinct that knowledge comes from beyond, that wisdom is bestowed, and that existence itself may be part of a greater order. The hypothesis also teaches humility. For too long, human history has been told as a narrative of triumph, as though civilization arose in isolation, independent of outside influence. But when we consider the possibility of paleocontact, we acknowledge that progress is never solitary. Even if the gods of myth were not extraterrestrials, the very act of encoding wisdom in story, monument, and ritual shows that humans have always sought guidance beyond themselves. The search for contact is not only about aliens. It is about understanding our own dependence on forces greater than us. And finally, the hypothesis offers a warning. If visitors shaped our past, they may yet return. Their presence could be benevolent, neutral, or indifferent. But contact between civilizations is never without consequence. Just as Europeans arriving in the New World reshaped entire continents, so too might advanced beings reshape us. To prepare for such a possibility is not fantasy, but foresight. The 21st century is an age of awakening. For the first time, humanity peers into the depths of space with telescopes capable of detecting exoplanets, atmospheres, and even potential biosignatures. We are mapping the genetic code, decoding the brain, and building machines that mimic intelligence. Each step brings us closer to the frontier where speculation about paleocontact becomes context for action. If visitors came before, then our rise was anticipated. They may have watched as we lit our first fires, carved our first stones, and raised our first temples. Now they may watch as we prepare to leave our cradle. In this sense, humanity stands on the threshold of joining the community it has long speculated about. To recognize paleocontact is to recognize ourselves as heirs to a cosmic tradition, explorers shaping, seeding, and perhaps guiding others. The awakening also demands responsibility. If we one day visit other worlds, how will we appear to their inhabitants? Will we be remembered as gods, teachers, or invaders? The mirror of paleocontact forces us to confront our choices now, before we repeat upon others the confusion and awe our ancestors may once have felt. As with all great mysteries, the question of paleocontact may never receive a definitive answer. Evidence can be debated, anomalies explained away, and myths reinterpreted. Yet the question endures because it speaks to something fundamental in the human condition. The desire to know where we come from and whether we are alone. Did aliens visit Earth long before humanity existed? Or are we alone in shaping our destiny? The absence of certainty does not diminish the power of the question, it amplifies it. For it drives us to explore, to uncover, to listen for signals across the void, and to dig deeper into the layers of our past. Perhaps the truth will come not as revelation but as recognition, that in our myths, our monuments, and even our DNA, we have always carried the memory of contact, waiting for the moment when we are ready to see it. Until then, the Paleocontact hypothesis remains both mystery and invitation to keep searching, keep asking, and keep reaching toward the stars. The more we examine the traces of the past, the more they seem to whisper of something greater. A temple aligned to the solstice, a carving of beings descending from the sky, a myth that repeats across continents. These echoes resound like fragments of a forgotten dialogue. Each may be explained in isolation, but together they weave a chorus too persistent to ignore. Civilizations rose and fell, yet the memory endured. Cultures as distant as the Maya, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, and the Polynesians share stories of gods from the heavens. Their monuments stretch toward the skies as if to honor, or perhaps to signal, those who once came. Even in the silence of our genetic code, mysteries remain, enigmatic sequences that may yet reveal whether we are the product of accident or design. The echoes grow louder in our own age. Strange objects crossing our skies, signals from the stars, and the persistent intuition that we are not alone all suggest continuity. The Paleocontact hypothesis may not yet be proven, but it provides a lens, a way of hearing the resonance that spans from the stone of ancient temples to the telescopes of modern science. Humanity now finds itself at a crossroads. The past suggests we may have been visited, guided, or even shaped by others. The present reveals that we are on the verge of stepping into the cosmos ourselves. The future demands that we decide how we will face the unknown. If visitors came before, then their legacy is not only in myths and monuments but in us. We are the continuation of a story begun long ago, perhaps by minds from the stars. To deny this possibility is to close the door on a past that may hold the key to our future. To embrace it, even as speculation, is to prepare ourselves for the moment when speculation becomes encounter. The threshold is both scientific and spiritual. It calls us to expand our understanding of what life means, of what intelligence can be, and of how civilizations, separated by time and space, may still touch one another. Whether we stand alone or as part of a vast cosmic network, the choice remains ours, to search, to question, and to be ready. And so the question lingers, vast as the night sky. Did aliens visit Earth long before humanity existed? The answer remains hidden, scattered across myths, monuments, and mysteries. Yet perhaps the true value of the question is not in its answer but in its pursuit. For in asking, we open our eyes wider to the universe, and to the possibility that we are part of something far greater than we ever imagined. The Paleocontact hypothesis invites us to look beyond the boundaries of history, to see our species not as isolated, but as woven into a cosmic story that stretches across worlds and ages. Whether the visitors of old were gods, explorers, or teachers, their presence has shaped the questions we still ask today. And until the day comes when the skies themselves deliver an undeniable answer, the echoes of their legacy will remain in our myths, in our stones, in our genes, and in our endless curiosity. For it is in that curiosity that we may one day find the truth. With that, we close this journey. The stars above remain silent, but silence is not absence. Somewhere, perhaps very near, the watchers wait. And we, their legacy, continue to search for the moment when past and future will meet again.